If you ever found yourself stuck in the same thought pattern, overanalyzing everything to the point where it leads to you being mentally exhausted, there's actually a term for this, and it's called logic looping. This is when your brain gets stuck in a repetitive thinking process, overanalyzing a scenario or situation over and over again until it comes to a resolution. And since the mind and the body are connected, this can also start to result in physical symptoms. So you may notice an increased heart rate, muscle tension, and even fatigue. So I'm going to go into the causes of logic looping as well as how you can break that cycle. So if you're interested, let's get into it. Hey loves, welcome back to my channel and welcome if you're new. My name is Tyla. Thank you so much for joining me today. So today's topic is all about logic looping. Logic looping usually happens when your brain can't really form a possible solution to a situation, and our brain naturally desires certainty. So when you don't know the answer to a solution or how you're going to overcome something or just how to solve a problem, what your brain is going to do is it's naturally going to keep replaying that pattern and those thoughts until you come to a resolution. This is also super common if you do struggle with high anxiety, because if you are somebody that is naturally very anxious or you tend to overthink certain scenarios and situations, it's going to be very common for you to experience logic looping. So the thing with logic looping as well is that it is often linked to the fear of the unknown. And when you don't know the outcome of something, it's going to cause you to stress over it. It's going to cause you to continue to play that thought pattern in your head. And another thing as well is that it can even be linked to fear. It can be linked to perfectionism and other situations that you may face on a day-to-day. Even unresolved emotions can lead to you experiencing logic looping. Now, the body and the mind are super connected. So anything that you are experiencing mentally can start to show up in different physical symptoms in the body. So what you'll notice as well is that if you are experiencing logic looping and any form of high stress, that's also going to lead to high cortisol. Now, cortisol is the body's flight or fight response. So what you'll notice is that you may start experiencing headaches, you may start experiencing fatigue or digestive issues as well. Now, in order to get past logic looping and breaking free from that pattern, something else that I do want to mention is that this is a form of analysis paralysis as well. So what will happen is you'll be going through a certain situation or scenario, you'll be playing it over in your head, and it creates this sort of freeze moment to where you're stuck in that thought process. And it can sometimes affect how you show up in the world as well. Bye! Cutie pie. Bye! So one of the main ways that you can break out of a logic loop is to start practicing cognitive shifts. So when you notice that you're stuck on a certain situation or scenario, start asking yourself questions instead of allowing your mind to keep playing the same ones that they're playing. So say you're just, I don't know, you experienced something that happened and it was a big disappointment to you, and you keep replaying it because you don't understand why the situation took place, or it's just something that's plaguing you mentally. Start asking yourself questions like, is this something that is helping me in the present moment? Is this something that I can't come back from? Or is this something that I can create a positive solution for, so that you can break that cycle of thinking? You can also practice mindfulness practices, so yoga, breath work. I like to take deep breaths. Anytime that you find yourself stuck mentally or just feeling a high amount of stress, just taking a second to do some deep breaths can immediately shift your energy and help you to break out of that cycle as well. Something that I also like to do is practice body awareness. So if you notice that you're stuck mentally, a lot of the times, since the mind and the body are connected, doing some form of movement can shift you from being in the mental state to being in the physical. Breaking logic loops is something that I have been struggling with for so long, until I finally started practicing self-awareness and asking myself questions when I have these thoughts. It's kind of like I do this thing in my head where, I don't know if any of you guys do this too, but it's like I have like my own little therapist in my mind. So if I'm overthinking about something, or I'm just feeling stressed out and I feel like I have too much on my plate, or I'm just going through too much mentally, what I'll do is I'll go in my head and I'll ask myself questions from the perspective of, I guess, my higher self, or just the perspective of somebody else, which is where that like second therapist comes in. So that's why I highly recommend doing something to where you can release those thoughts and just start practicing better ways of handling whatever it is that's coming up mentally. So channeling it into something else. I personally love writing as well, because sometimes when you just write out what it is that you're feeling or you're going through, writing is so powerful, and sometimes you can get a different perspective on it once you actually just see it on paper. So there was also this example that I saw. It was like a meme online, and it had two minds. One of the minds, it had like a scrambled brain, so it was a bunch of different chords. They were all mixed and tangled up. And then the second one had the same chords, but they were loosening and they were also coming out as the person was speaking about it. So a lot of the times I feel like you just have to release what it is that you're feeling and what you're thinking most of the time, which is why I like to journal or pray. And so I highly recommend just doing something to where you can release those thoughts, because sometimes putting it out on paper or just speaking about it can help give you another perspective of it. Something that also helped me as well, especially since I overthink and I tend to get stuck in my mind at times, I noticed that if I just try to come up with positive scenarios, no matter what the situation is, it helps me to see that situation from a higher perspective. Because a lot of times we get stuck in scenarios or situations that we feel we can't come back from, or that we feel don't really have a resolution, especially when we don't see it in that moment. Even if you don't know what the outcome can be, sometimes it's best to just give yourself that peace in knowing that there's nothing that you can possibly do in that moment, and allowing yourself to be free from it, even if you don't have that solution yet. But that's all for this video, you guys. I do hope that you enjoyed and that you found it useful, and that you may have probably learned something new. So if you did enjoy, be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. I do these videos every Tuesday, and I would love to see you in the next one. So enjoy the rest of your day, and I will catch you later. Peace and much love.